Okay, all right, thank you. All right, good afternoon. I'd like to officially call to order the East Shore Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. We will be continuing numbers 1 through 5, which is Draper properties. I will do that in a minute, but I'd like to change the order of the agenda with your approval. I think it's too confusing to go from talking about the new changes and then go back and do several properties under the old rules. So I'd like to do numbers 8, 9, 10, and 11, which all deal with properties under the previous regulations first, and then go back and do the public hearing and amendments, which would be 6, 7, and 12, and then the minutes would still stay at the end. So I make a motion that we move the order of the agenda.
Second.
Have a second. Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. All right, we've changed the order.
Well, could you start with the Drapers?
Yes, I'm going to start with the Drapers right now. Number 1, Eureka Hotel. Okay. Oh, that's right. Gail has to recuse herself. Okay. Lots, I'm sorry, plat 7, lots 33, 36, 37, and 38. Public hearing for the United Development Review for an application for administrative subdivision to reconfigure lots 33, 36, 37, 38 on High Street and Spring Street. I make a motion that the hearing be continued until May 8th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries. All right, number 2, garden lot, plat 7, lot 33. Public hearing for the United Development Review for approval for a special use permit for a hotel, a request for a continuance. I make a motion that the hearing be continued until May 8th.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 3, garden lot LLC, plat 7, lot 33. Public hearing for United Development Review for application by the Draper family for a special use permit under section 407, hotels for a new restaurant. They requested a continuance, and I make a motion that we continue this hearing until May 8th.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 4, Eureka Hotel, plat 7, lot 33. Public hearing for United Development Review for an application by the Draper family for a special use permit under 407 hotels to renovate an existing structure hotel. They have requested a continuance, and I make a motion that the hearing be continued until May 8th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 5, Eureka Hotel, plat 7, lot 38. Public hearing for United Development Review for an application by the Draper family, the Dodge House, for a special use permit under 407 hotels to renovate an existing structure to a hotel. They've asked for a continuance. I make a motion that we continue the hearing until May 8th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Next month.
Yes, May 8th, put it on your calendar.
Okay.
All right. Okay, jumping down to number 8, which is Rose Farm Inn. And just let me get Bill recusing himself, and this is plat 8, lot 262. A discussion act on a request provided by the town council with finding and recommendations for an amendment to the zoning ordinance. Zoning map for an application for Judith Rose and Rose Farm Incorporated to amend the zoning map to change a portion of plat 8, lot 262 from the RB zone to the RCM zone. The town council is scheduled a public hearing for May 7th. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is part of an ongoing process with the subdivision, the Rose Farm Inn, for which you've already granted that approval. You may recall that the Rose Farm Inn is located in part of the RCM zone. The remainder of the property is on the RB zone, but we're adding on to the Rose Farm Inn lot a small portion, about an acre of land on which the building which houses the bicycle shop is located, which also has some of the mechanics for the well that goes from there. That lot also contains the septic system for the Rose Farm and some of the required parking units. What we've asked the council to do is to make that part only of the of lot 262 RB, so that RCM, so that all of the Rose Farm will be in the commercial zone, the RCM zone, the remainder of the property stays in the RB zone. We're gonna ask the council to do a contingent upon and not to take place until the subdivision is approved and final.
Okay, questions or comments? Since we've already probably approved this, but this is the second chance to ask any questions. Otherwise, I would like to make a motion to send a favorable recommendation to the town council for the planning board on the proposed zoning map change to make a major adjustment to the boundary of the RB and RC/M zones to align with the applicant's new lot lines approved in the master plan stage for their subdivision review process by the planning board on September 21st, 2023. The proposed zoning map change will result in a portion of the existing lot 262, which will be added to existing lot 260 through the subdivision process, which is separate from the zoning map change application before us tonight, to be zoned RCM. The subdivision will consolidate the existing commercial operations into one lot. The proposed zoning map change will avoid a lot with split zoning districts. I find this proposal to be consistent with the goals and policies outlined in the 2016 New Shoreham Comprehensive Plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions?
I just wanted to, the description of it as being minor, not major, like map change. And it's also going to be conditional on the planning board approving the final plan of the subdivision, right? So we'll include that in the memo to the town council.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great. Anything else? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Who's
opposed?
second? I'm sorry.
I will, yes,
So-
Sosha, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it passed.
Yes.
All right, got confused there.
Thank you very
Thank you very much. All right, number 9, Charles Bacon and Cynthia Bacon, plat 18 lots 4-1, West Side Road and Jane Lane. Application for a special use permit under sections 306E and 406 to construct a single-family dwelling and an accessory residential structure. Advisory to the zoning board, we will review and act on the waiver requests and set the public hearing date for development plan review. Okay, Gail has recused herself. Okay. Good afternoon.
Can I just have a brief moment for a quick statement?
You certainly may.
So thank you for the consideration. My wife and I have been looking for 8 years for this land to do something out there. We've been out here since the mid-70s. So dating my wife, and now we have children out here every year, vacation, either on the solo or we rent to homes. We closed on this land in June of 23 after that search, and it's a 5.4 acre lot. It has the Greenway Trail running through it. It has Jane Lane right of way, and we have close to 0.7 acres of conserved land that Jane Harrison preserved years ago. The first thing I did after we closed, I reached out to the Block Island Conservancy because I'm new to this and I didn't understand what I should be thinking about, and that was very helpful to understand what I cannot do. With Jen Brady, because I've met with Jen a number of times to understand what's important from somebody's perspective and the process. I also talked to the neighbors about what is important to them. We got to know each other since June. With all that said, I ended up retaining the local team of Chris Delaney, Maple Hill, Ken Cole of Atlas Land Surveying, Mark Butler to take care of the landscape design, we're going to do the land And also Sticksman Construction is my general contractor. I also read the comprehensive plan.
Oh, congratulations.
It's a great special use permit request. We worked really hard as a team to not have to do this. But in the end, the topography of the site, putting in the basement into the house, it caused some square footage to go up. Because I have a small little area, the topography of the site. The house is here, the garage is down there, which is a little structure, not messing with the topography of the land. But the walkway to the house leads to the basement, so you have a small walkout area. That added 289 square feet to the living space, which caused me to go over the 4,000. If I subtract that basement finished area, I'm below the 4,000. The gross area is only by 799 square feet, but we worked hard to figure out what we can do with that. But with the basement, that basement is added 1,600 square feet to the project, so I'd be under the 5,000 square feet if basement will have a basement. And then finally, the cubic footage, again, the basement being elevated, anything above the grade, that in 1,000 cubic feet, I'm over by 11 or 45,000. So those three items led to us requesting discussion use permit, but everything else we're in compliance with. Building plan setbacks, all of those items. The house design, I drove many miles around the island to look at house designs around there. And I believe we created something with the gable roof, the cedar shingles, white trim, white windows that will fit in nicely. I shared it with some of my neighbors, they liked it. So this request, I really didn't want to have to go through this process, but we really stepped back and thought about the investment we're making here. It was the smart thing to do, consideration of the needs of my large family, 4 children, 3 children, all that. So thank you for the opportunity to submit and go through the process.
Okay, what we do today is I have a checklist that we're going through to make sure that we have all the material that we want from you. And then we will set the date for the public hearing, which assuming you're available May 8th, we'll set it for that. Okay, so let me go through the checklist that we have for you for the, make sure we have all the material and to see if we want to request anything else. And then I'll see if the board has any questions for you, and then we can set the date for the public hearing. Okay, we have the list of names, copy of the variances. You're requesting a waiver for that because it doesn't, you don't have any, so that's not really a problem. We have material required for the special use permit, so that's okay. Information's been regarding emergency access. You asked for a waiver. I don't see a problem with that at this point. Does anybody on the board? Okay. And you also requested a waiver for number 5 for materials indicating soil type and groundwater conditions and documenting suitability as required. And then I don't know if there's any problems with that. Does anybody? Generally, we do get some kind of soil analysis that shows us that it's suitable for building. I know that there are houses around you, so I'm making the assumption that it is, but that is something that is usually included.
We have subsequent to our submission, technical analysis, and so they asked layout to the plan. That was approved, got a 506 letter. Short township. Second. Information, so otherwise happens to.
Okay, then would you also make sure that Jim gets a copy of this? So I think that would help. I don't see that it's going to be any problems, but if we have it, that same thing for your drainage analysis. If Jen just has that, we could have that to look at and refer to if necessary for the May hearing. Okay, so it takes care of that. And the same thing, this goes with the nutrient loading. That's all an erosion plan. That's all tied into the same thing. And you'll also ask for a waiver for number 10, and that's commercial structures. You're obviously not, that does not apply. So that it returned in everything else. Anybody have questions or want to ask for any other material to be submitted?
No, I just have a simple question because this is for Allison. Allison, what is the allowable size of the footprint of an accessory structure? Do we have a limit on that?
it's
Interesting,
the same, so it's just a minimum, it applies to any structure. That there's no distinction of footprint
Oh.
between
Okay, that's it.
yeah, the principal versus the accessory.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, other questions?
I just noticed did you have something?
No.
Sorry, I just noticed something on the plan that was different, on your site survey plan, you note that the property proposed accessory building is 44.5. But then later in the plan, it's 44.10. So just make sure those are correct.
It's
It's,
at the back.
yeah, it's the west side of the proposed accessory building. 44.5 is on one and then 44.10 is on the other. Yep,
Mhm.
that's all I had.
Was landscaping plan submitted? I know you mentioned you hired a landscape designer.
He's working with Ken Cole and Alice, to finish that. We want to get through the Rhode Island first, and then go finish his design.
Okay, the timing of that you think will be,
Oh, very short. Very short. The plans are in at, DEM right now.
yeah,
Okay,
We received our 506 letter, and pretty much what's on the design, the engineer drawings today is a representative of what, Mark Butler, Missouri.
yeah, well, we usually get it's Allison's at a landscape, and they usually show lighting and, driveway, hardscape, or, impervious or impervious. What you have is fine, I think we just need a little more,
Yes, correct.
like the type of plants count, like what you're
Yes.
intending to plant. What type, do you have?
On the plan.
No, it's okay. I think my mic's not on.
and some of our mics are not necessarily the best either.
Yeah, I think it's on C2, is that where you are?
The planning board typically reviews the landscaping plan that if you have proposed plantings, trees, shrubs, what types?
That we.
Yeah.
My wife was.
Yeah, so on the first page,
Actually,
44.5.
Yeah.
On
Take a lot of
C2,
that.
44.10.
Yeah, and that's one thing we want, if you can use stuff that comes from the Rhode Island, a list of approved plantings would be amusing. And remember, we have a lot of deer and they do like to come by and browse, so keep that in mind.
We did put that in the write-up, there's a lot of material, but I did put that in the write-up.
Okay.
Submission.
I wonder,
Yeah, and you probably did, and I probably missed it.
counting the sides here.
Any other questions?
So
I
close
just-
to
If
45.
you're talking at the table, could you just make sure that you turn your microphones off, because
Sorry.
it'll pick up your conversations and then you can't really hear what is happening, so just letting you know that.
Okay.
Right. So you're not approving the waivers for landscaping, soil suitability and the erosion, correct?
Correct. That is going to be additional submission that he will have for you hopefully within the next week or 10 days or so. Okay. Anything else? Either Allison or Jen?
I'm just noting that we have a really full agenda on May 8th, so I think everyone probably just needs to be aware of that. I mean, sometimes things shift, but at this point, there's 5 hearings. We would make number 6.
What she's saying is it's gonna be a 7 o'clock meeting, not a 6.
We gotta come and
Bring some snacks.
Bring snacks.
Mary, you need to make some copies.
We just let you know that you're maybe sitting here for a while, that's. Okay, just so,
Bring
you
a
know,
book.
it's kind of like, just so you know. Okay, well then I will make a motion that we schedule the hearing for May 8th.
Second.
Socia seconds. Any last minute questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll see you for the hearing next month.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going down to number 10, Blues House Holdings, Eric and Jennifer Conley, plat 17, lot 31. Beach Avenue, application by Rob Sanders Architects for a special use permit under sections 307E, 406, 407, I'm sorry, 703, for construction of an addition to an existing single-family dwelling. And we'll do an advisory to the zoning board. We will act and review and act on the waivers request and set a date for the public hearing.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Andrew Elmendale. Sanders Architects. Before we start, I did the conservation that I'd like to submit an exhibit to replace the site development plan that you have in front of you with an updated version. That's all right.
Sure.
It's just the removal of the additional garage bay that was on the previous plan. That's really changed.
Thank you. Okay. And what, if you will tell me again what the changes are on this?
It is, this plan shows removal of the additional garage bay to the west of the existing ADU, which we're no longer pursuing that additional square footage program. So in the existing plan is updated for a piece there to the west.
Okay.
Just to give you some background on the site and project. That might be Beach Avenue. It's a 1.27 acre site located west of town, on the south side of Beach Avenue between Ocean Avenue and Center Road. RV residential zone. The property using an existing 4-bedroom house comprised of 2 habitable floors. Main house constructed in 1887, and then in 2005, an ADU was built that has a garage on the first floor and an apartment above. So our proposal is to connect the 2 buildings without increasing any occupant load, so that count is the same. In doing so, we'd be replacing the old septic system. And so we're pursuing a special use permit for overages on building footprint and area and volume. And that's primarily because given where the 2 existing buildings are, the square footage required to connect them, as well as because there are the existing floor levels of each building do not correlate. The ADU garage building is about 5.5 feet below. The circulation and stair requirement to build code compliant stairs to connect those levels kind of force us to build a volume that is over the allotted. But in doing so, we believe our design plan is in keeping with the scale of the site of the island, as well as the character and architecture of it. All the additions. The main addition is really was the rear of the site. It was not really visible from the road. And, all those bridges and feet of the roof not exceed any of the existing structures. So that's the general overview on kind of what we're pursuing, and I can answer any specific questions about, the proposal that we have.
Okay. Do we have questions?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I have one question.
Gail, go ahead.
I have a question, and it's because the maps that I had were small and I didn't have a magnifying glass to check the setbacks. I understand that DEM setbacks are not our jurisdiction, but I'm wondering if you do fall within the 50-foot setback with any additions that you're doing?
We do, and we met with conservation last night. And as you can see, the plan I handed out, we have a pretty comprehensive plan to mitigate any environmental impacts on the site, including a 10-foot wide vegetative screen to the south of the site. protecting the wetland as well as we're proposing 3 dry wells to collect any roof surface runoff. You know, obviously during construction, we putting up silt fences and capturing all construction activity as well as using the existing gravel drive and for site access for construction purposes as well.
But there hasn't been an application to DEM as of yet?
No.
Okay.
Chris, any questions?
No.
Mary?
Yeah, just one thing.
Okay.
Thank you. On your plan here, it's the first one that you gave us.
Yep.
The page 10, almost the end of that document. Where you show the south elevation. I'm just concerned about that long, building plane, 63-2. I'm trying to understand it, that middle section setback,
Yes, so,
that one long,
yes, so if you,
or is there, is your breezeway set back?
yes, it is set back from the gable, the south gable of the ADU, as well as, the proposed gable of the addition. This building plane is really a result of how the code defines on this building plane in terms of its setback from building faces. So that's where that 63-foot number comes from. It's not an actual 63-foot long wall.
Okay.
It's, you know, it's definitionally falls within that.
Right.
Good question.
Yeah, and then my other concern was about the habitat there where you are in the, so close to the wetlands, but then heads north after your property.
That's right.
That street, to the lower part of, each avenue, the lower part of each avenue is right there.
Yeah, so,
Maybe more flooding than we're seeing.
yeah, maybe, I mean, I know where we're at, we got rain this last year, I'm sure you guys have as well.
We have.
I've been to the site numerous times in the last, month or two, and, the way the house, you can kind of tell by the site development plan, the way the house kind of sits at the top, is kind of at the crest of the hill. Like I said, not super visible from the road, and, you know, again, in terms of the environmental impact, we think that, what's proposed in front of the site development plan kind of mitigates that, you know, using all of the native plantings, native soils, kind of collect as much root runoff as much as possible, and I think with the, removing the existing septic and installing new up-to-date one with today's standard, they all kind of fall in that. What we're trying to do is mitigate any environmental impacts, and we went through that pretty extensively last night with conservation as well.
Can I just have been, Rob did this square footage summary at one point. Could you, supply this square footage summary with the recent revisions? This is from January.
Yeah, so that's an old sheet.
Yes.
You go to, I think we were just trying to, you know, understand the code and what was allowed.
I think the board would find it helpful if we could do that again.
Sure.
And then
So,
also ask, Ken and Cole to take the very small site plan and put it on a separate sheet.
Yeah.
Both sides,
Please.
I mean, all of the other information is helpful, and they need to know the planting and all of that, but
right.
it is difficult to read that.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah, saw it was there, but it is hard to read.
Right. So if you look on, I think it's pretty much not the last sheet, second to last sheet of the big sheets of the drawings, labeled square foot diagrams, kind of the hatched areas of the floor plan, the progression of the floor plan show kind of what we have calculated as the square footage is based on the definition of each one. But like I said, we are pursuing a special use permit for overages on multiple of these. But I think in our kind of understanding of the way code's written, and our design, we feel as though, you know, again, we're not increasing any occupant load of the house, and given the differential in grade of the site and floor level adjustment and doing a code compliant stair, which if you look on the first floor plan, you know, takes up much of that square footage. For example, you know, the volumetric of the connector addition, we chose to use a gambrel-like mansard roof, both that fits the character of the island, as you see that everywhere. But not only that, functionally being able to use that high roof space to get from the second floor of the A view to the second floor of the house, given that differential where the existing buildings sit. You know, keeping the main historic facade of the original 1887 structure and all its character and
Yeah.
glory.
Okay, good.
But if, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of what we review is what those overages are. So if we could have those numbers,
Yeah.
that would be
they're-
helpful. I didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't understand which page they were on. I
Well,
didn't
that's-
see
So
them.
if you look square foot diagrams, that's kind of diagrams explaining
Yeah,
so for individual building footprint, you know, 2,502 square feet, it's listed there. And as well as listed in our application. But also, as well.
Yeah, I didn't see what the. Well, no, I saw that. I just didn't see, usually the fourth column is filled out as to what
yeah.
I didn't do the math myself. I should have.
Oh.
Usually the math is done and the fourth column is filled out for what overage is,
Yeah.
what the relief is
Well,
being
wait, you
requested.
didn't put down what the relief is required, I think.
Okay, all right.
Normally that just makes it easier for us.
Sure,
If we get this before next time,
yeah, I can definitely.
Yeah,
look at that.
yeah.
But like I said, yeah, so it's. Like I said, we're asking for special use permit on that building footprint. So again, the way it's written, that's including external porches, which we have a large existing wraparound porch, you know, existing to the original 1887 structure. So that's again a big portion of that also includes, you know, overhangs and chimney volume and things like that. So I think that is a big contribution to maximum building footprint. Total living area. Again, you know, I think part of that is the square footage required just to connect the two buildings, given where the two existing structures are. One
yeah,
is-
we understand what you're saying, and it makes perfectly good sense. We just need the numbers.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know the numbers off the top. of my
No,
head.
I understand that, and I do not want to sit here while you calculate.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then maybe on Friday, I'll give you a call to discuss that 50-foot setback. I just want to make sure the ordinance doesn't have any language in there about building in that, within that.
Okay.
When's the conservation commission?
Clarity question?
My only question was,
What?
you referred to the existing garage cottage as an ADU. Was it functioning as a dwelling unit? Like it had a kitchen, had all those things?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
okay.
misspoke in that.
Okay.
It's really just. a
It's in
bedroom
the-
and bathroom.
I see. Okay. So you're
And it's
converting.
all single, by one single family, it's not, you know, rented out.
Okay.
Billy?
Nope.
Okay. And I just want to reiterate, you're having 5 bedrooms, which was what the 2 buildings had before, so you're not increasing the occupancy bedroom wise.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I don't think questions for Allison?
I was just wondering, the Conservation Commission meeting you said was last night, did they have a recommendation, like, or you
No, I
complete?
just approved that submitted, I think they were happy with the site development plan and all the environmental mitigation study as opposed to.
Okay. Why was the garage eliminated? Just a decision of the applicant, not necessarily?
Just not necessary,
Yeah.
not needed by the clients and additional cost and square footage that it's necessary to pursue.
Okay.
So the Conservation Commission didn't require DEM approval? For
They-
encroaching in their setback, or that maybe that's not their,
Right, they're
Avenue.
reviewing, well, they could comment on the placement of that and the fact that it's located within the setback, but. I mean, they're required to go to the DEM and you might want to apply and.
Okay, yeah, I can follow up.
Mhm.
For sure, but yeah, they did not mention anything about that specifically.
It was a favorable advisory.
So that could be a condition.
Jen, anything else?
No.
All right, let's run through the checklist here. Quickly, we've asked for a waiver for variances, modifications, other special use permit approvals, so that did not apply. Okay. I think that's a problem. Number 11, 11 for the I'm sorry, number 10, commercial structure doesn't apply because it's not commercial, and letters from the town, a building official and zoning official. I'm not sure that we need any of those. Doesn't really apply. So I don't see any problems with material. I think everything has been submitted. Is there anything else anybody wants that we haven't mentioned?
Just a condition. The condition.
Okay,
yeah.
yes, we'll add on here that to go forward, we do need the approval for DEM. For your sake as well as ours. Okay, are you available May 8th, understanding that it's going to be a very long agenda?
Yes.
Okay, then I will make a motion that we schedule you for a public hearing on May 8th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We will see you next month. Yes, it'll be a long agenda. Look forward.
Cookies.
Just want to make sure everybody knows. Number 11, Dr. Peter Bizard and Sally Bizard, plat 18, lot 42, Center Road, application by Nicholas Batty and Melissa Batty for a special use permit under section 513D(A) for an addition to an existing accessory dwelling unit, 513 for year-round residents. We will be doing an advisory to the zoning board. We will review and act on the waiver requests and set the public hearing date. Good evening. Thanks for coming. So if you would like to walk us through what you're planning to do so that we have a general gist of how it's going to change and what you're adding.
So we are looking to add square feet to our 513 that we currently live in. We can add 513 built it 5 years ago. 13 years ago. And we're running our families, so we need some more space. So we don't currently have a dining room table, so we don't have that. And we even have 12 bedrooms for ourselves. Our daughter is in the master bedroom, which is in the loft area that you'll see on the second floor. So the second floor will be partially our bedroom, partially unfinished storage, because the square footage is older, but we would like to have that second floor space just for the architectural look of the house. And kind of maintain the same architectural features.
Okay.
So you'll see like on the first floor, you'll see our current, like, we are in the addition area, we're making it our kitchen. So our kitchen is now, so we just want the fire system to like stay in our living room area. So that's why we're moving the kitchen to the new addition. So we can use our fireplace in our living area. And it's costlier addition, but
Need space.
Yeah, and you're keeping the office,
Yes, yeah.
okay? And then on the second floor. Now, the loft will be where your bedroom will be, is that correct?
So the locker is actually where our actual bedroom is. It's just the bed in there, for Nick and myself. The baby's room is the nursery. So our bedroom will be on the second floor of the addition.
Okay. I see proposed master bedroom and nursery, okay, and a full bedroom. So you would have basically 3 bedrooms is what you're saying?
We'll have 2 actual bedrooms. We won't make that loft area, maybe when we have another child on the road. We won't make that an actual bedroom probably into that point. We're just trying to not set off having to redo our septic at this time. So
Okay,
we actually have need the use of another bedroom.
okay, because you've also got your unfinished storage area,
Yes, I'm sorry.
and that could be also turned into a bedroom at some point.
I don't think so, just because like the way it would flow, there's no really way that we could access it for a bedroom, we have to like walk through a bedroom to get there, so that would actually have to be the bedroom. Unless major.
Hmm.
Place.
And septic.
Yeah,
Yes. In which case you'd be coming back to us.
yeah.
Okay. All right, Gail, questions?
No.
Okay.
So, in spirit, I'm not opposed to any of this, but I'm confused about the text. I'm referring to a letter from, a memo from Jen, March 29, on the 3rd page. Section D, accessory dwelling units for special use permit. Number 1, applicability. Number A, it says that an accessory dwelling unit greater than 1,200 square feet of living floor area up to a maximum of 1,500 square feet of living floor area is allowed only upon the granting of a special use permit. So aren't we looking at a bigger number here? Am I confused?
Yes,
Yes, I'm confused, or we're looking at a bigger number.
Or all.
Or all of the above.
so the proposal is about, it's just under, you're falling under just under 1,800 square feet, right?
Yes.
To confuse things a little bit, you know, the ADU ordinance was recently changed.
So this memo.
But that, what you have,
Is the correct, version that you're reviewing this application under.
so Jen, you know, received the application, worked with the applicants. She said the application was received prior to the ADU recent amendments, so she's provided the language for the ordinance at the time of application,
Yeah.
but it's what you read is accurate. So at A, that's correct, that was in there, and probably still in there, that language. B is existing, so this is an existing structure, an existing ADU. So that does go up to 1,800 square feet, but this is an addition, so it's new square footage.
Right.
It's not an existing structure of up to 1,800 that's being converted
Right.
there. So it's, you know, we had a recent application that went to the zoning board that was approved, so how the planning board had interpreted things, or staff at the time of prior applications versus the zoning board. So maybe, people can interpret it differently, I guess.
The applicants can apply for.
Yeah.
Whatever they want. I mean, we're.
I know,
guiding
but I
them,
just
but
wanted
At
to-
the same time, it's, you know.
The new language was, tried to clarify that inconsistency, right? I mean, the ADU, there was a lot of cleanup in the recent
this is
amendments,
clear.
and this was,
If I could.
yeah, go
add
ahead.
something.
Yeah.
There's
You
some
worked on
additional
that.
language at the end of that section of your ordinance, which you might recall from a previous application that came before you with similar circumstances. That additional language states that relief from that floor square footage amount of 1,500 may be granted by a special permit. So that was, I'm sure you remember, that was kind of
I remember.
a discussion point among the board members. That language has now been changed, but to Allison and Jen's point, this application vested under the old ordinance because at the time it was submitted, the old ordinance covered.
Okay, so, but that means they can apply for the new language, right?
No, they have
Yeah.
applied under the old ordinance, which is the language before you, which is the same language as the application that came before you
So,
rather recently.
so wouldn't the recommendation then, since we want you to have this, to reapply using the recent language?
No,
No,
is that
no.
more, it's more
more strict.
restrictive.
It's strict, I think we want to stick with this, but we can, the way the zoning board interpreted it, we can grant the extra with, through a special use permit.
Oh, I see where you're going.
See where I'm going?
Yeah, revised
Okay. I hear
language.
the revised language is clearer and more
It is.
restrictive.
The revised language. took
Never
out that.
mind, I don't want to do that to you. Okay,
All right, so that takes
So,
care of your
yeah,
question.
there was some language
Okay.
in there that made it a little bit gray,
It-
so
it's a-
that
Yeah, we've had trouble with that before.
all right.
since has been corrected, however, that was
Okay,
corrected
okay, so you're
prior to-
lucky you applied early.
Okay,
That's why I put that memo together, just so you.
just so we know, that's, appreciate that, that's great. Okay, you any other questions? Okay, all right, Chris, questions?
Thank
Okay, Mary,
No, thank you.
Claire?
Nope.
No, okay. Let me go through the waivers and see if there are any questions here that we want to deal with. With more information. Okay, you've submitted one, two, that is not applicable because it's a copy of variance modifications and other special use permits doesn't apply. You've asked for a waiver for 4 for information regarding provision for emergency access. I don't see that that applies to your property, so I agree with that. Materials indicating soil and groundwater conditions. I don't know that you need it since your house is already operating. And the same thing going with the drainage and the nutrients and the erosion control. If you haven't had a problem with the house now, you're probably not going to. We will not worry about those. And letters from the town official, which is number 11, as are not required at this point. And if we need them later, we could do so. Any questions or comments, anybody?
Well, for mine, I did supply the.
Yeah, oh, you did, okay, fine, so that's okay. I don't have any problems with any of these, I don't think anybody else does. Allison? Okay, Jen? Then are you available on May 8th? You know, we were having, as you heard me say earlier, a very long agenda. Okay. Yes, I'm afraid you probably will be, because we're going to probably take these in the order in which they're listed. Although Jen sets up the agenda, although we confer on it, so I won't guarantee. Anyway, if May 8th is fine, then I will make a motion that we set the hearing date for May 8th.
Second,
And Socia seconds. Any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll see you next month.
Yes.
Yes, yes, you have to come to us first, and then we give an advisory to the zoning board, and you will have a copy of the invite, so you'll know what it says. Okay, if you have any further questions, give Jen a call.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. We will now jump back to number 6, which is the public hearing. We will hold a public hearing to discuss and act on the proposed amendment to the multiple sections of the New Shoreham Land Development and Subdivision Regulations to bring the regulations into compliance with state law changes effective January 1, 2024. Proposed amendments include sections that concern major subdivision and land development, including definitions, review procedures, decisions, and flow charts. Minor land development and subdivisions include definitions, reviews, decisions, and again, flow charts. And the technical review committee, including membership and the procedures for Unified Development Review, sections 201, 301, 308, 309. And I'm going to turn it over to Allison and Karen for this section, since they are our experts.
Okay, so we're continuing our updates from the last state legislative session. So this is the second set of amendments. You've adopted a lot of the first tier one set of the zoning amendments. So subdivision amendments that were required involve changing the definition of minor land development, minor subdivision, and major land development. So the role of the planning board and the technical review committee and administrative officer will change significantly. And then the review process for these types of applications. And also the unified development review, which had been optional for municipalities, is now mandated. So we've spoke to that. So there's a section now in the subdivision regulations that will that discusses it in more detail. The authority of the administrative officer to review and approve applications has been broadened. There's development plan review here, a section on that. It provides a list of the types of developments that will go through that type of review process. And the standards for DPR have been defined. DPR, there's two types of DPR. So you have administrative and formal. And land development projects have been defined. So you see that all outlined. So I guess maybe just taking it one at a time, trying to give an overview, but maybe this is. We'll start with minor land development. So the definition, as you can see, has changed. The state has now outlined the types of projects that qualify as a minor land development.
Sorry, Allison, can I
Yes.
just ask, as we're going through this, do you mind just saying what things are state mandated and what things have some local control if there are any?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Karen, you'll jump in and help me with that. All right.
Yes.
Weston and Sampson, as you,
That's very confusing.
well, yes, and
Changes,
Mhm.
very confusing, so please, if you have any questions, absolutely. bring them.
Remember, I once recommended that we color code those that are state mandated in red,
mhm,
because that makes it so much easier.
yeah,
So I think the way to think about it is that everything here is state mandated, with some discretion given by your staff. Where there is discretion, you can point that out, but it's
Perfect.
not
Okay.
as clear cut as
Oh,
saying this is state mandated and this is just something we wanted to change.
okay.
Everything is being driven by the state.
it's minor land development, but yeah, like in some cases, there might be a policy decision to be made, but it's being made in order to be compliant with state law. But I understand, like, there's question where you want to know where those policy changes, where there are local level decisions to be made, so we
Right.
can weigh in on those. So minor land development, the definitions here, like A through G that is listed, those are all within state law. Correct, Karen, right? Yeah. Now again, Weston and Sampson, Ashley she worked on these drafts.
Everybody understands where Allison's reading from.
Minor land development,
But
page
everybody-
one.
Just want to make sure, page one. Okay.
So this is really the thresholds that trigger minor land development. So if a project comes in, so as you can see now, it's 9 minor subdivisions are now 9 lots versus, yeah, it's a big change. The
I
state,
know.
it's standardizing that across the state.
It's a pretty big town.
Yeah.
Or not. I should say.
Yeah, so minor subdivision, creating 9 or fewer buildable lots. So in here, this is actually something that was not necessarily, this is a little bit of a cleanup in 701. That was called out as being potentially like not legal. We just cleaned that up, trying to maintain the intent of it, but that callback of a 5-year. The lot could not have been subdivided within the last 5 years,
Right,
like
I
to
read
subdivide
that.
it again.
Mhm.
So I would say that's probably the only thing that wasn't really state the last legislative session, but it is again something regarding a concern with state law. Well, it's still, it can't have been subdivided within 5 years, but then it goes on to say like adjacent properties as well that are owned are not allowed to be subdivided if it's the same owner. So I think that's what's been stricken, that component of it. I don't want to read through all of these, but are there other questions on, as we walk through minor land development? I will say what now is the review process is that the administrative officer reviews minor land development, like minor subdivisions, unless it requires zoning relief then it would trigger unified development review, and the planning board then is the permitting authority for both the subdivision and the zoning relief. But also if the subdivision involves the creation of a road, it will go before the planning board.
I had one question. How quickly can we get a technical review committee together?
We're gonna put it on, I mean, it was planned, I had planned to put it on this agenda, but then the agenda was so long, so
Mhm.
hopefully next month.
Because that's such an important component of all of this, it seems.
Right, once you make some.
Once an application comes forward.
That, yes.
Okay.
So
'Cause-
May 8th, hopefully we can get
Mhm.
through.
I was gonna say, it's gonna be a very long agenda.
I know.
If there are a few things that we could put on an agenda where we could do a quick lunch meeting and go through some of those things, that might be something to consider.
Okay,
Just,
I'll write that.
Mhm.
yeah, we've
No,
got
I
to do the
see
hearings on
how-
May 8th because we've already
Yep.
voted on that, though, that can't change. But we could take 2 or 3 items of things having to do with
Especially technical.
decision, technical committee, anything else that we could just do quickly over
Mhm.
during a lunch meeting.
Because these are already in effect, if I understand correctly, correct with the state?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
types, these regulations.
January 1.
Yeah.
The state law has changed effective January
June,
1.
okay, January.
You have, or the town has enacted several of what we call them tier 1 zoning ordinance amendments.
Mhm,
There's more to come. These are subdivision
mhm.
amendments. As the planning board, you make those changes. So to your subdivision regulations. So
Mhm.
it's kind of, it's a rollout.
Right.
Okay.
But we're mandated to do this within as quickly as possible, I imagine.
Well, the state law became effective as of January
Right.
1, so are you mandated? No, but legally, yeah, you probably want to get it done as quickly as
Okay.
possible. So that both for you and your applicants, there's a clear process.
Okay.
The expiration on approval changed, there's minor changes in here such as that, so from 90 days to 1 year. For minor subdivision land development.
So
Are there any point, I don't want to like read
No.
through it all, but minor subdivision.
my initial reaction is that the workload of Jen is going to increase and that the town needs to be approached about giving her either more hours or assistance. Because mathematically speaking, if you can have more applications within a given amount of time, then it's more work for her. That was one thing. Are you going to talk about Article 10 today?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll wait.
Any other questions?
Major land development, again, the definition has changed, so really anything that doesn't fall under minor,
Goes with
would, that exceeds those minor thresholds would then go to a major land development, major subdivision, 10 or more buildable lots. I don't think you'll see many of those.
Not here, I don't think. I hope not.
Not anymore.
I hope not.
The review, so again, that it's changing the review procedures. So stages of review. Before there was that information, public informational meeting, if you recall
Right.
that language,
Right.
that the public hearing will occur at the master plan stage of review. So changing it from 4 to 3 stages. The TRC in regard to like a major land development, the technical review committee will provide review at every stage.
Does the word shall mandate it?
In zoning, it does.
Okay.
It might be in the TRC section where it speaks to that versus this document.
Actually, that was a good point. I had a question and I didn't bring my notes with me unfortunately, but there was another
No, it is right
portion, it might have been in major and minor subdivisions. But it was the planning board or the zoning official may hire the technical review committee. And
So that's.
so that
not
must be
mandatory.
your,
Right,
right,
that's
might
not
be your call,
mandatory.
not our call, I would imagine.
That's how it's worded.
Okay.
Yep. In this case, for major land development, it's written technical review committee. The technical review committee shall review the application prior to the first planning board meeting and shall comment and make recommendations to the planning board.
So to your
Yeah.
comment about that for leaver, for minor, which
Yeah.
most are going to Jen will have discretion. Whether she wants to include the TRC, that's when you see that. You will see.
That's where
They will
the.
have every application. Worry about that.
To do so.
Right, it's also another board, puts it, the TRS. Function as a board.
And that's where there was like one policy to speak to like what decisions the local municipalities may have. You know, the administrative officer, if you want the administrative officer to have even more authority, you know, list the waivers that your administrative officer can provide. And so that's where we, in most cases, or if not all, the preference of the administrative officer was that applications go to the planning board. So when there was the opportunity to make that local decision, everything went to the planning board that we could legally. So, and we didn't provide waivers, didn't provide the administrative officer a list of waivers to grant that it would go to the board, and that was, Jen had weighed in on that, so.
Typically, we send a lot of, actually send most applicants to the board. So, I mean, this is a huge change and for zoning as well, so to not see projects. That's a big thing.
And then we have unified development review. I think we've been over this a number of times, but when a project requires planning board approval, but also involves a variance or a special use permit, the planning board becomes the permitting authority for both. So it won't go back and forth between zoning and planning, that you're able to grant that zoning relief.
And I have a concern with that because how are we going to be educated on variant structure and what to grant and what the regulations are? That's
Mhm.
something that we just have to read up on individually and
So
Well,
my office has prepared some memorandum for you. Jen and I are working to finalize those. And they will be coming to you. And we'll have one on special use permits. We have one on variances and I've also distributed one. I think Martin's, you've seen it, the preliminary draft.
Yes,
on
I have the
the
preliminary draft.
UDR process. So that information is coming to you.
So when we get to a couple of the other sections, you'll have the ability to send some of the special use permits to the zoning board instead of by bringing in development plan review, then it brings the application process to you versus the process that we have that followed, where you issue advisories. So I think it's a good idea to have the review of zoning board on ones they can.
and the UDR The sections modified as a result of UDR, really, this is all state language. We didn't get into editing any of this. It's really, this is what Weston and Sampson provided from their template.
Okay.
No, nothing in here that was modified locally as far as making local policy decisions on that language.
Okay.
And TRC, you adopted some, well, the town council adopted the zoning sections related to TRC, so this is to complement that or be consistent with that. So it outlines membership, establishment.
And part of your discussion with the TRC is that the state law now says that if you're establishing a TRC, which you are, the planning board shall adopt written procedures establishing the committee's responsibilities. So for now, you know, we can move forward with this subdivision amendment to get you started. And then leave the TRC, and then I think we should be starting to think about if you want to adopt any additional procedures or responsibilities. But this position.
Okay.
And this membership is a local decision, your membership of the TRC, and this is something we had reviewed at a previous meeting.
Yeah.
But there's some flexibility within this built in.
Is there anything you think of that we should be adding in right now, or you think this is sufficient?
Or anything you think we should be thinking of?
I think that in terms of timing, I think you need to put this into effect into your subdivision regs. And that makes sense. I think to do everything at once would hold this question. And I wouldn't think about that. It's not worth it. So let's get this
Done?
part done with
Okay.
my advice, and then the next thing to follow, you know, within the next, I would say, 2 months. would be good.
Establishing the committee, yeah, now at least you'll have it within your zoning and subdivision regulations, the language there, and then you can make up that TRC and start holding meetings, so by adopting this tonight, you'll be ready to take the next step and
Okay,
establish that.
Are we making up, are we having time to make up the TRC plus the duties of the TRC, or?
I didn't understand the first part of that.
We have more time to make up the TRC. That doesn't have to happen. Yes, we have a few months to do that.
That
Right.
is already, the actual makeup of the TRC are already been established by both zoning ordinance and this subdivision.
Right.
regs, who actually get appointed.
Right.
That, once this goes into effect, that's something that Jen will have to work on. To start pulling those individual members in.
I guess that was my question. We don't have those actual individual members. Yeah, we have the,
You have like who they are,
Who
you
the
don't have any.
right, we have the
Correct.
structure.
It's like flexibility here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the board still has
I know,
to
it's true. I know, look at that.
choose the members. Right, so you have a list of individuals in the amendment.
Like
But
it'll,
you don't have the name of the person. You don't know if it's Gail.
right, it
That's
says
going to
one
say
member of the
one
planning
planning
board, so.
So as chair, your administrative officer is your chair of the TRC. So Jen will start to work on that part of it, so like the actual membership.
But it's up to Jen, who, once it's formed, it's up to Jen's discretion as to whom she wants to pull in for advice, right? There's
No,
flexibility.
You will have to say on that, but Jen will start the process of figuring out who to maybe recommend, working with you to figure that out.
It's the planning board, it could be the planning board or the town council that is, the state law gives flexibility as to who actually appoints TRC
okay.
members. And
Well, I believe that the TRC having been created by the municipality council. That ordinance lists the same individuals, so that's already been done. So I'll just put it on the agenda next month.
The TRS.
In the past, when we had a technical review committee, because we don't right now, it was appointed by the planning board. And that, we like that process, and I think I would recommend keeping it. It worked very well. Because we could select people that we knew had the expertise that we needed on that committee in regards to whatever the application was.
I'll probably recommend, I'll
submit my recommendations, and then you can vote on it, change it, whatever, like.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds like that will work very well. That's fine.
So that will either be on a special meeting, agenda or
Okay,
May, depending on how it looks.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, do we need a motion to approve the major, minor, unified development review and technical review committee changes to send it to the town council or not?
It doesn't
What?
go to the.
One more?
It doesn't go to.
This
the
is-
Oh, okay, one.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yep,
All
so
right.
the planning board has the ability to, it's your, the subdivision regulations you adopt. There was one more section. This one's pretty straightforward, but the public notice. Was able to circulate that. Let me pull that one up.
Public hearing?
Did you talk
Notice
about the
requirements.
development review?
That's next agenda item, so I'm just going through.
You'll have to excuse me.
So notice requirements. So this is a one-page. So the state law amended the notice requirements. So this is specific to your land development subdivision regulations.
Thank you.
So it speaks to no longer requiring certified mail, can be sent first-class mail. There was a change in the type of circulation, newspaper, instead of general circulation, what was the legal language there? The change,
You don't have to know that
I don't-
the province externally,
yeah.
or you can go to-
it won't impact
Yeah.
your
Doing that.
process here on, Buck Island, but it does impact other municipalities, that language change.
Yeah.
So,
And
there's again, nothing in here regarding public notice is, locally, there was no local decisions here. This is just copy paste state law, correct?
Yeah, and compared to what you're dealing with, everything else, it's pretty.
Which,
big.
Okay,
so this is all real template language and not up for any changes, really.
Our interpretation.
Yeah. So that's the package of subdivision regulations that the planning board can adopt this evening.
Okay,
okay. Good,
so moved.
okay. Do I have a second?
do you want to say that it's, consistent, find it, anything else, or is it just a motion? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, good point. We don't typically, we infrequently amend the subdivision land development regs. Findings in regard to those. I mean, certainly that it's, yeah, I mean, certainly that it's to be consistent with state law requirements, so.
I'll just add.
Okay. Motion's made a motion. And I need a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. All right. What do you want to put in as far as findings go? It's consistent with the
Consistent with just.
with state law.
State law.
We have no choice.
And anything else? Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. This is a lot of stuff done. Thank you, guys. This is great. Totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Allison, I have sort of a sideline question. Do you happen to know if when people use storm tools, can they and they reach the map of their property and they see what sea level rise impacts there are, can they actually print that photo?
Off the website? Probably.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
probably,
yeah,
I
they
mean,
can.
most online mappers will have like an icon, a print.
Because what I would like to recommend, and I don't know if this is the right time,
Mhm.
but at some point that our checklists include such a map.
Yes, you have raised that and Mary had, so that's one thing actually I noted it in here because I know you sent me a note after the meeting about that generally. So Ashley hadn't built it into the reg, but I don't know if it's because we talked about putting it in the checklist. And we haven't prepared those. So I did leave the note in here to say it should go into the checklist then.
Good.
As a,
Good. Is it possible, this is again a little bit outside of this, is it possible to require such a map of all building permits? And if so, how would we go about that?
I mean, I know when the online building permitting system, they do have the GIS layers built in there, so they flag it. There are flags in there for certain things, like if it's in the historic district, is there, so the layers in there. If it's in a flood zone, they get flagged. The building department, when they do a building permit, it'll tell them because it's utilizing the GIS layers in there. So, I mean, I don't know if there's additional layers. It's not utilizing storm tools, but there's sea level rise layers in there. Like we could add that, we could add additional flags and the building department could then notify the
That would be
applicant.
nice.
That's
You can
what
put
you're
that on
speaking
the
to.
agenda.
Yeah.
Tonight, that's not on your agenda, so I don't want you to go too far.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, there's definitely some options there.
good.
Okay, so this was a fun one, development plan review is, so this is on the agenda tonight. We've kind of gone back and, Ashley, Karen and I working on this, discussing the approach, and language here. So it wasn't on your agenda last month, so it wasn't ready. So now it's just on for draft and discussion. So you're not going to adopt it tonight, but I think what we need to do is discuss what the direction that the town wants to take in regard to development plan review and special use permits. So we know what language should be drafted and ready for you for next month for adoption. So,
Are you looking at any?
so 201 is the definition of development plan review, and that's from state law. And then you're gonna get into applicability. So these are the types of projects that will require development plan review. This list is from state law, but there's flexibility here in regard to additional things you might want development plan review. What projects you may also want to undergo development plan review. So as far as how it's left now, Karen and I started at including additional things, but
Yes.
it's the whole discussion of whether or not you want special use permits. Developments that require a special use permit to also go through development plan review, as the current language is, a lot of your projects, right? In zoning, if it's special use permit, development plan review is required. That's something that New Shore, the process that's been in place for a long time that you're familiar with. What would now be the case, as I understand it, is that because special use permits are zoning and development plan review, if required, it's the planning board, it would then fall under unified development review and go just to planning board. If we required both, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the concern was you would see basically anyone applying for a special use permit, if we require development plan review as the town does now, you would be the permitting authority on every special use permit and no special that are currently in the zoning ordinance, and the zoning board wouldn't see any of those applications. So a decision needs to be made whether or not to remove the requirement that's within the zoning ordinance that says development plan review is required by the planning board for all special use permits. If you remove that, then it would those projects just go to zoning board.
Well, they would come to you for advisories, just like they would for any of the special use permits. They go to planning board and conservation for advisories. And I was thinking if there's anything on that development plan review checklist that somehow we can incorporate into it, so you're at least getting that material for review, like for the large house, that's a big one, 513 you'll still see them.
We can
As
word it, we
advisories.
can word it like that. I mean, you don't have to, but the town can, it's a decision. So we
That
could
makes sense.
we could write in the, we could include that requirement of an advisory type, like conservation commission.
But yeah, I mean, you would still review them even before, like, they were in the development plan review, you still reviewed them as advisory, development plan review is advisory. So it's a non-binding review when you're reviewing it. With a special use permit, so. It's,
The language in your ordinance that states that all special use permits have to go for development plan review is
Right,
rather
right.
unusual. But the interesting thing is, like we just said, if you do decide to make a change and remove that language, the zoning board could still send the planning board special use permits for an advisory. So the only difference would be the special use permit wouldn't come before you as a development plan review. It would come before you as an advisory.
As an
prior to the zoning board for the special.
And you would have the public hearing. of
Yeah.
the state.
Now, is there
Right,
anything
and still-
required that that be done so that we make sure we stay in the loop?
The authority to do that lies with the zoning board under state law, so it would be up to them to send them to you.
Because I can
Write
see
a
it.
language that
What I don't want to
advises-
see is a scenario where we don't get anything.
Why state law where you send the, SUPs to conservation and planning for advisory that was amended?
So each one is taken individually, so you've got your variances, you've got your special use permit, and what it talks about is what the zoning board is authorized to do. And one of the things they're authorized to do is to send anything they want to planning for a recommendation.
And they have, I mean, for 25 years, I've never.
I know.
Yeah, I'm just looking
Not
at,
send the special use.
but I'm looking at trying to prevent where they decide they don't want to send anything anymore, whether we wanted it or not.
I don't.
So
And I
I
wanted
can
to
take
make
a look
sure-
at that.
I
can
just
take a
want to
look
make
at that
sure
and see
that
if
there's
you
some
can-
way that they, as part of their procedure, I don't want to use the word requirement, but as part of the procedure,
It's in the state, it's already in our ordinance.
I think I want to check because,
It is already in your
I mean,
ordinance.
we've always been able to review and send back comments. I want to continue to be able to do that because I believe the more eyes that look at a project, the better off we are. With a different board down the road, I don't want them to say, oh, we don't really want this, so that they don't send anything more to the planning board. So you've lost one whole group of people commenting on a project or which might be a major concern of size or location.
Well, for development plan review, well, for let me back up. Accessory dwelling units, it's written in that section that you do review it. If it's an SUP, and then for the large house ordinance, I think there's language under 406, that the planning board also reviews those.
But we're talking about in the future, how we're gonna handle it, like the
Yeah.
options, like now.
Well, it's already in there. It doesn't, I don't know if it specifically says development plan review. I know
Yes.
that
So
it
what I
does.
can do is, my office can take a look at the ordinance. And if the board is in agreement with this idea of hinging all special use permits go for DPR, if you're in support of that idea, we can take a look at it and come up with a way to hopefully strike that requirement, but put language in there that says that those things have to come to you. I would want to take a minute to just look at. the
That's
table.
fine. We're gonna look at this again. I'm just sharing my concerns of what
Yes.
might happen down the road so we could avoid that if
Yeah.
possible. So yes, that would be fine. I'd love to have your office do that.
Okay, so that would be a separate discussion, because that would be a separate zoning ordinance change. Why that's important to discuss now is because staff, we need to understand how you want DPR to operate. So if the board is in agreement that we're going to try to remove the requirement of all special use permits go for DPR, then that's fine. We can proceed with making sure this DPR subdivision regulation for you to pass conforms with that idea. Does that make sense? Because
Yes.
if you're gonna keep the ordinance the way it is,
I was gonna say.
we
the
might
other-
have to change some things in the subdivision.
If
regulations.
we keep it the way it is, what are the advantages to leaving it the way it is? I'm not sure that I thoroughly
You
understand.
have 2, 3-page agendas probably every, like, every zoning board won't really have that many
Okay,
applications.
that's enough to scare me right
Because the
there.
variances
Okay.
are kind of working themselves out with
Mhm.
just my office, and then the special use permits would all be here, so.
I guess my next question is how many special use permits are we talking about? 2 or 3 or 25
Every month.
every month?
But think about like breaking it down, the 513. That's development plan review. Special use permit, like, do you want to see the commercial properties or?
The answer is yes, we want
You're
to
gonna
look
see
at
it
all this.
anyway in the advisories, is there a way to send it to technical review?
Well, they're going to see it in an advisory.
So you'll see it.
Yeah.
There's not,
Okay.
it's not really, you can take 2 months to issue an advisory, you don't have to do it all in the first month. You're gonna have your own. Brief with a little application if you wanna see some additional information or. It's what you did. Prior to the large house, so it was the same process that you would review special use permits. And review them under advisories.
I personally would rather that we keep business as usual. So if that means changing language, I'd rather us be giving advisories on special use permits versus granting special use permits myself.
I don't disagree with that.
Since there's so much change going on, try to make it consistent with state law, but mimic the process that
Yes.
the town is.
Correct.
Yes.
Do at this point, and then changes can be made down the road. If you feel like it's not, depending, as you look, over the next year at the agendas for zoning and planning, and, things can be modified again next year as a result of what's going on with the boards, but.
Yeah, my sense is there are some special use permits that we're more interested in looking
Yeah.
at and some that we're not.
Yeah,
So yeah, looking to see which ones, the 513, the 406, those.
yeah, and I think, again, there's flexibility there with because the language is, and what development plan review, as you see, it's by right permitted uses, so it seemed inconsistent to require, if you're defining development plan review as by right permitted uses, and then saying all the special use permits require DPR. So most of them, but not all, are conditionally approved uses, not by right, so in the case of, just again, depends on your interpretation, but like single family homes and ADUs are by right uses, but it's just the size of them that's triggering the SUP. So Karen thought you could those could be DPR, but then the issue of permitting authority and.
Right. And when you say zoning would have to ask us for an advisory, would applicants have to go to zoning? Ask for an advisory to come back to, you know what I mean? Like, what's the
No.
process for that?
Right now,
It's
that's the
the
process.
same?
Yeah, it's.
Okay,
exactly what we
okay.
Follow, the zoning board starts with zoning board, they accept the application. Immediately forward it to conservation and planning.
Got
I kind of do all that internal. Just like paper shifting, and then, you see it on your agenda. the next
it.
month.
Okay,
So, for Star, Blue House, Bacon, they were all on, 23rd, 24th. They were, last week.
got it.
That was the beginning. And they scheduled the public hearing 2-3 months out, waiting for you,
Right.
to give you some extra
Right.
time, and
Right.
I think the policy, I think they used to do it 2 months out, but it just was never enough time, and then they couldn't see.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah, well, yeah, we should, I guess. Go for it.
But there
Normal
will be, a stenographer at some of your meetings, that depending on kind of like what the agenda looks like. Especially like under unified development review, you are the permitting authority. for that
Oh,
one.
but I noticed.
So Sally Broussard will be here,
Oh,
and we'll have a little bit of a different process.
Mhm.
You'll be able to have like as much,
Okay.
it's right, it'll.
We have a whole formal meeting.
Formal,
Yes,
yes.
that's fine.
And there are, Karen just reminded me to mention the types of DPR. So there's now administrative development plan review versus formal development plan review. Yeah. So,
Thank God Karen came today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
so what you need to, well, you'll be involved with the formal development plan review. Those are the projects that go to planning board. When we say administrative DPR, then that would be the administrative officer approving it and you would.
But I can't even.
But well, this is what it states for administrative DPR, one stage of review. A change in use at the property where no extensive construction of improvements is sought, no additional parking spaces are required to be constructed and doesn't require any waivers. So, I mean, similar to what
Yeah.
the planning board used to waive DPR in a case like
Yeah.
that. So it's really,
Well, you would have to recommend, yeah, there are, okay.
no, you would just be doing the administrative DPR.
So there are, yeah, I can think of a handful of times where I recommended or Mark recommended.
Yeah.
Waiving PR and you agreed or disagreed. But there are cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we get the other, which is.
The other,
which
yeah,
we-
change in use of the
which we agree
property
Anyway.
when additional parking spaces are required would go through formal DPR and the planning board has been assigned the permitting authority for that. Adaptive reuse projects, you recall, that was our new definition within the ordinance, located in a commercial zone where no extensive construction or improvements is sought. These are outlined in state law, so it's language from state law here that we just inserted. So there'll be projects, when they come in, just deciding, okay, is this go DPR, minor land development, major land development?
Okay.
So those are your review processes.
Got it.
So if
And
I
then-
can do that, I mean, I already. do that, right?
Mhm.
When that happens.
Yeah, they're changing a commercial use to a department,
Right.
vice versa. Doesn't really require our review.
For 513s,
Right. You can grant like the team if they have all the security.
we have had a number of new applications, so, and like for Broussard, they started at 2,200 square feet, and I helped guide them to.
Yeah, where they are.
1792.
So,
Just
we do that.
So DPR, of course, requires standards. This is the other documents that were circulated was. This is, so section 501, development plan review standards, that's your existing language. And Ashley had put together in the comments section where she moved those to, so but the thought was, and this is really more formatting, I guess you would say, and this is a local decision on where you want these to live, but the thought was by putting them all in the subdivision land development regulations, they apply more like they're all together, the review standards.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
they've been inserted in that section 1001.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they're more like in one place and would apply more broadly, correct, to the minor land development projects and development plan review. Like they're all within Article 10.
Yeah.
Design construction improvement standards. So within DPR, it's referencing that section, that Article
Okay.
10.
That makes sense.
I'm sorry to jump back, but I've been thinking about that development plan review. We have a medical zone, a public education zone, land development zone, that might be a situation where you would like to see the development in a real.
Yes.
It has been following that process.
By the board instead of going to zoning, because that's how it is described in that section.
Okay,
What would it come in
so
as?
it doesn't require,
Saying it won't require zoning relief, but it just says it needs DPR by planning board and no zoning
But
relief
it's specific
potentially.
to that section.
I know what you're
that-
saying,
that
yeah.
block.
Yeah, so that should be listed within the development plan review. So in here it does speak to institutional development, educational hospital facilities, public buildings, but we could be more specific, local, like instead of using that state law language and state the medical center zone, like development and the.
Well, it's in the zoning
Yeah.
ordinance.
Mhm, right, we could
that
put,
it is specific, so maybe that's not.
we'll just, yeah, I think we're gonna have. Everything that speaks to DPR there and evaluate that.
Okay. I don't know what's happening. I guess it's telling us we're done.
Done at 6 o'clock.
No, like the video shut off. All right, sorry about that. I'm not really sure how to fix it. You're still on, you're just not on camera.
Video.
Okay.
Oh, it might have, did a plug get loosened? That's what happened once.
Oh, I'm
before.
right on the plug. So I don't think so. Give it a minute. Okay. Turned it off.
So. We're gonna put a little more work in this one and come back to you next month with
Okay.
yeah. With additional edits and a summary of the process that, and what projects will require development plan review.
Yeah, I'll try to think about what, like, specific examples of development plan review as the binding, review.
Okay.
Like off the top of my head, Old Island Pub, that's strictly development plan review, so I'll together some examples.
Okay, that would be, yeah.
And we can include that within the list. We
Okay.
can maintain that.
Yeah.
Depending on the scale, if it triggers minor land development, then it would go through minor land development, not DPR.
Anything else you need from us? Before I move on to the next thing? Okay,
Thank you.
any questions for Allison or Karen before we go on?
just one quick question. The plan development, we're just looking up area, that only exists in one location on Black Island, right?
No, I mean, it's two, right now, it's Old Harbor Meadows is a plan development, and then Salt Pond Settlement. It's a plan development, but that could change, somebody could make application.
For another plan development.
Mhm.
It's a very, very lengthy process, but,
Okay.
Thanks for looking at that.
Okay,
Trivia.
moving down to number 12, section 513, accessory dwelling units. Accessory dwelling units by special use permit, expedited approval process. Discuss and act on the planning board pre-approved building plans. The planning board may from time to time review and approve such building plans. Details and plans of planning board pre-approved structures shall be held by the zoning officer and may be obtained upon request. Since Claire served on the original committee that was working on this, I asked her if she would sort of walk us through this, and then we'll talk about it. Claire?
sure, and Gail, I mean, feel free to chime in.
But Gail,
too.
we're trying to plow it off on you.
Um,
I talked to her yesterday.
See who your
Thanks
friends
a lot.
are.
No, I think, thank you, Jen, for putting this on because I think we all definitely didn't want to let this slip us by. Thank you for keeping it front of mind. Yeah, so the amendments we approved to 513 accessory dwelling units, that expedited approval process. Part of that is that, or like a big part of that is that the town will have pre-approved plans that have been approved by the planning board available to folks who want to construct an ADU on their property. So we as the planning board need to solicit and then approve these plans. As part of our little group, we had approached a number of architects. People were excited to participate, to donate plans to the town. So I think really at this point, we just need to get on that and start asking people for plans for us to then review.
And I did speak with, the town manager about, RFQ, and she said that,
Oh, okay,
that
great.
was the process to follow. I wasn't
Great.
sure if we were asking for pro bono.
Thank you. I didn't think of
Still
those
need to go through
technical.
that. It's-
Okay.
it's-
Okay.
Said Alex-
Well, Allison, if you want to, if someone has that language or wants to point me towards some type, what even does what is it?
Well, so, I mean, an RFP, we're from, RFP,
okay.
request for proposals, and RFQ is request for qualifications. So it depends on what you're looking for out of what you're soliciting. So if you're just soliciting,
I thought we were going to solicit plans that fit all the requirements, are a variety of different styles so that
Yeah.
people could fit it to their
yeah,
home.
so you'd
What's the difference
solicit
between requirements?
qualifications for architects to then you would select one or two of those to
I mean,
to
there
build
could be-
plans to design
Well, we were-
ADUs based on your, I would say, having some direction as to like how many different designs you want. I mean, starting with one thought was, okay, you're a standalone ADU, but then like above the garage seems to be common. So a garage with ADU above, so those could be the two different types unless there's another, or like better, like a 1 bedroom versus 2 bedroom design, you could have, so I don't know, it depends how many.
And then also.
Should
if
give
you
some
want-
thought as to what,
which
which plans
want it to look like
and the
too,
size.
Just so that you're kind of providing some guidance and the square footage,
Yeah,
and
that's.
also, do you mind having multiple plans if you like all of them and there's 8
Well-
different architects, isn't that?
If you don't mind me interjecting, yeah, that's what our conversation was, wasn't it, Claire? We were gonna have possibly four sets of plans, each falling within the square footage requirements, and each having a different design, so that people would have choices and their plans that have already been created, so they'd be very complete architectural plan.
Yeah,
So
ready
that
for
all you have to
construction.
do is look
building
at it and say,
plans.
okay, this is plan number 3. It's been approved
Right.
under,
Mhm.
whether it's a 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom inside, doesn't really matter, where our focus is
Okay.
on the footprint
Mhm.
and
And-
architectural design
And the design.
and living
Yeah.
floor area.
Yeah.
So let me
And
get it straight then. What if the applicant doesn't like any of the choices, comes up with his own?
Then he can't do expedited approval.
Then he has to go
come.
through special
You
use.
got to go through the regular process.
Well, no, I mean, depending on the size, ADUs are by right in most cases, but
Yeah.
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 So it's,
So it's not that bad.
Oh, right. Okay.
this is, I guess in a way, just providing, it's
Idea?
giving property owners a little bit of a head start and saving them money on the
Expedited
design.
approval.
It's not that it would go through a quicker local review process. It's
Well, it is
If-
quicker. I
But it's
mean,
by
Yeah.
right, ADUs are by right unless
But
you're
if it's
exceeding.
over like 1,200 square feet, so really you're looking at, if you're looking for designs between 1,200 and 1,500.
No, they said they're gonna go underneath below the, you're
But
still,
that's-
the designs are going to be the ones that require a special use permit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you.
Okay.
Just to make things easier for an applicant, because some people are intimidated by going through the 513 process, because I have to hire an architect, I've got to hire this, I've got to do that, and this way, here are 4 plans you could choose from if you'd like, and then all you have to do is get your building permit.
And not require the special use permit, but maybe it would be useful to have a smaller design ready free
that's
for
working.
somebody.
Right, we're thinking, I don't know
think
that
would be
people want to
great.
get.
Even the
smaller
by right, but I'm
Um,
saying the one,
Even if you're not going for a special use permit, but you want to use a plan that's already ready to go on the shelf, I think that would be great.
We could have one that's 850 square feet, we could have one that's
Right,
1,200
right.
square feet.
But
Having
they,
a-
as long as they understand they don't have to use those. they're just
Correct.
provided.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
important
right.
to understand. These are just ways so that,
It's really
people-
1,200 to 1,500 square feet.
okay, that answers my question. But
Anything
anything over
triggers the
1,200
special
is a
use
special use permit. So that could be a plan,
that's-
one could be 1,500, but they'd have to go for a special use permit.
No, I think you have.
So it's no longer an EAP, but it's an
A
avenue.
special use permit, okay, would be 3 bedrooms up to a maximum of 4 bedrooms, greater than 3 bedrooms, 1,200 to 1,500, so. If you're looking at any of the things that trigger the special use permit, then you have 2 options, to go through the special use permit. Or do the expedited approval process.
With one of the plans that fall in the criteria that are in this.
So really, you're looking for plans that fit the criteria for a special use.
No,
Not
we want to
only.
avoid the special use permit.
No.
Am I understanding your opposite?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, you want plans
Yeah,
that are going
yeah.
to address.
okay, that
Yes.
makes
An
sense.
applicant
Yeah.
who would otherwise have to get a special.
Not
Right.
the ones that are just permitted by right, it's that.
Right.
Like you said, 12 to 1,500, more than 3 bedrooms, it's that what's under D1. A through.
Okay.
And hopefully we get one from a modular company, because I have heard, from a number of homeowners that they were interested in.
Oh, that's
And
really
those
cool.
are less costly, so I think it does make sense to
Yep.
have a plan from them, and those probably are,
Right, exactly.
yeah, I don't know, the cost, yeah, to purchase the plan and have, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually.
So, but is it, are you saying there's no budget to hire an architect to design these plans?
We're gonna request some pro bono, because a lot of people the architect that I spoke to, he was like, oh, I already have plans that I've designed for people. I'd be happy to donate them to the town.
Okay.
And I talked to one builder who said the same. He had already designed a plan for an ADU for the town of New Shoreham and it was approved.
Yeah.
So he was willing to give.
Maybe it's
us
more of
those
like a
plans.
design competition and you're just,
Yeah.
like, you're just soliciting, really, I mean, that's what it sounds like. You're just wanting to,
And I mean, it doesn't need
you
to
want
be,
architects to submit.
I think we just want ones that we've all had a look at and decided, okay, this fits with the character
Yeah.
of the island. It
They're
has-
already
you know,
being
it-
utilized.
It meets all the different requirements, so it doesn't need to be limited to 3 or 4. We could have
Right, you could have. a whole bunch.
six,
If you
7,
have-
you know, I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't,
Mhm.
as long as they are approved by the board and fit the requirements, I think they should be available to folks.
And the benefit to the architects would be that then
Yeah.
the homeowner would purchase or would select their plan and maybe they would need to
Right.
make some adjustments or.
But then they
Mhm.
would go through the. approval.
If they fall out of the
I'm saying,
criteria.
in-
Yeah.
Interior.
Yeah,
right.
Use that
Yeah.
in the future for some- Well, in the case of a modular, you would be purchasing them unit, so.
Right, they definitely have,
So.
yeah.
Now, not all houses on Duck Island have the traditional look. I would hate
Right.
to see them excluded because we only give samples of traditional architecture.
And we're not, we wouldn't be.
Okay.
We're looking for a variety.
We're looking for variety, but we would want it to be in character with the neighborhood, that it would be,
Yeah,
for Block Island.
So we could pull together like the height limit, the roof pitch, just based on what we already have, like in our zoning ordinance. And then try to
Mhm.
put that together with the criteria for a special use permit. That's really what you're looking for, I think.
Well, the people we talked to thus far, there are already plans that have been approved and built.
Yeah, so they're just willing to provide.
Yeah.
But those might be planned, right?
And I think it'd be good to have both by right and the
By
special
right,
use.
definitely.
You know what? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
Actually, I like that,
Um,
because a lot of people who are not in the building profession have a very hard time with concept. and something
Yeah.
that's concrete that they can open up and actually look at.
Right.
I think it's a lot easier for them to understand.
And there are gonna be more buildings by
A lot
right
of
then.
times I
by
just pull
next
plans
True.
to try to give them some
Something
ideas.
visually to look at.
Yeah.
Because if you don't deal with plans all the time, it's very hard to understand what you're seeing on the paper as to how it would look when it's actually built.
Agreed.
And I usually suggest a couple of properties to go.
Go look at, that's
Right.
interior, that's also a good idea.
Building,
Yeah.
um,
And, you know, I still go with it. A picture's worth 1,000 words.
Mhm.
I still
Yeah,
believe
so,
that.
so what's the next step here? Do we need to
Yeah.
put together a list of all those requirements and do we have to put something out, request for
I think we
proposals
should.
or?
Yeah, I think speaking to the town manager on how next
Yeah.
steps on that, what would go out,
But we need to be able to
for pro
give
bono.
you or town manager the criteria, right? Like, so some guidance, you know,
Mhm.
so we don't get.
But I'm not sure exactly what, if it's just, you're asking them to submit an existing a plan. It sounds like they're interested in providing, you spoke to people that are interested in providing plans that they already have.
Correct.
But has anyone said they would design a plan for this program?
I don't know, we have to talk to our committee again, I
People are
think.
saying, oh, I'm definitely interested
Yeah.
and I have plans that might already work.
Yeah,
It wasn't
right.
I'm only giving you
Yeah.
stuff I've already done, it's at least from the conversations that I've had.
And we can touch base with our committee again, just even via
Yeah.
email to find out
Okay.
who talked to who and pull it all together.
I was gonna say, if you could get all that put together to give to staff. So they.
Yeah, I just want to figure out what the right, correct, fair legal process. is
Right,
in
right.
regard
Yeah.
to collecting. Yeah, do you need to go through anything, right?
Could we
right.
just
Well,
put it on?
Like an
I
RFP.
thought We still needed to do the RFQ as a process for it, even if it's pro bono.
And it's stated in there that,
So, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
follow up with her.
yeah, that's what I just want.
Yeah.
This is a unique.
But I can take like the different,
Lots of
the
this,
different, parts of the ordinance and send it to you.
Yeah, so something the square foot, I mean, bedroom size, do you want to, I mean, it's, again, it should be what you want to encourage, you know? I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
For ADUs, so,
Yeah,
We can put it on the
a
agenda.
2-bedroom that fits within that 1,200 to 1,500, a standalone.
If we have a separate meeting, that would be a good topic.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't wanna add it to the May.
You know, don't add to the baby.
May.
Okay.
But I think, yeah, Gail, you and I maybe can circle back with our little group
Architects.
and see where conversations had ended up. I think put together a list of exactly what we want from people.
But if it's, right, and
That
there
would
would
be
be
great.
flexibility, I mean, if you're just collecting plans that are already prepared, you know, you just give them that full range and you see what you get, you probably will get a
Right.
variety just
Right.
in what they submit, and you don't
Right.
maybe need to specify.
Right.
Like I was thinking you would need to specify, if you're going out for an RFP, like for an architect to hire an architect to design to your specifications, but if you're just soliciting already
And
plans
something
that
like
already
that,
exist,
and
you're gonna get a
Yeah.
variety.
Yeah.
A group for people to look at.
And if we're missing a certain
Style.
size or
Mhm.
style, then we can request those.
Yes,
specifically.
right, that's how, yeah. then
This
you
is
go out.
just supposed
Then you
to
can
be
post an
at
RFP.
the least amount of complication as possible. I mean,
Right.
we don't want
Yeah.
20 plans for people to then get even more confused and then walk away from having an ADU. We
But
want
as
people
far
to
as-
be able to come in, apply, and then apply for the $50,000 grant that's offered by the Housing Initiative. We're just trying to expedite the whole process.
But it'd be nice
Without
to
it being so
collect all of
complicated.
those options, so you have something
Yeah.
to choose from that you like.
Yeah,
you know.
they'd be in Jen's office. There'd be here are 4 that you can choose from. Someone comes in and says, hey, Jen, I want to build an ADU. Oh, great. Well, here are 4 sets of plans that you could take a look at, or 5, whatever we end up with. If any of these appeal to you, you could get the permit right away. All I have to do is review your lot, review your square footage, and then bingo. And then, hey, why don't you apply for the Housing Initiative also?
Well, that's not.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
not your avenue. No, they're already advertising on their own.
Separate, but the one thing that, I think might want to consider focusing on is the triggers for the special use permit, since that's what you're really giving the expedited approval process. pool. So, I mean, it might be great to have a 800 square foot plan, but if applicants are coming in looking for a special use permit and then you only have one plan for that category.
So maybe you want to have several for each category.
Honestly, I wasn't, when we were talking about this, even on the committee, I was not considering what you're talking about. I was only considering trying to get an expedited process for people who are going to comply 100% and make it easier for them to do that instead of, I didn't realize we were actually talking about having plans that exceeded that would require a special use permit.
Okay.
So
That's how this is written. I mean, because by right, if they.
By right, they don't need to do
They
it.
don't go to planning board. They just pull a permit.
But-
Process is only for special
Correct.
Mhm.
Yes.
So that's the D. So if
Yeah.
you look at D1, that's really what the third.
Yeah, special use permit, what you were.
So really, I guess.
The AARP had a design competition for ADUs and at the State House, they had a presentation earlier this year and it was with RISD. So you can go online and see the designs that they're unique and modern, but yeah, it might be interesting to take a look. Yeah.
But I mean, it's also a great opportunity, like when we solicit these to sort of tell people what we did and explain it in layman terms and that kind of thing, you know?
Make it.
Be really cool. Yeah.
But you, I would think about the height. I have seen a couple of, RFQs in the last couple of months and the height, they're right at 25 feet, the roof pitch isn't. It's like 2 or 3 feet. Because it's
Well,
just
and there is-
triggering this on to
Well,
28 feet, so just.
And
There isn't
that's
a
another
special use permit.
area where if we have ones that are by right, you know, size, the size is within the by right category, but we're guiding people toward designs that we feel are more fitting.
But we didn't consider height as part of the special use permit. We're not saying people can get a 28-foot exception.
Well, you can't.
We're only
You
staying
don't
at
have,
25.
right, and you can't
Right.
grant that, because that would be a variance from the zone. board.
Right.
So
And
that's
don't forget too, just
a
because
requirement.
you get a pool of plans, regardless of how you get them, the planning board still has to approve them.
The
So
plans.
you will have a bunch of plans somehow submitted to you. You'll have a meeting, you'll decide which ones you approve. So you'll have
Okay.
that ability to review them for
Yes.
height, roof
Mhm.
pitch, things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, because we don't have jurisdiction over design. We just have jurisdiction over footprint, height,
Dimensions.
and roof
Well, in this
pitch.
case, you will.
Well,
Yeah.
in
This
some
case, we will.
designs,
You're
you
gonna-
will have
you're-
your pitch
Mm.
for
You're designing them.
structures over 28 feet. So, well, I could try to pull together that and potential, well, the different zones have a different height requirement, but that's something that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it would be good to put together like a cheat sheet of what we're looking for that we then are able to submit, you know, supply to each of the architects that we're soliciting.
Mhm.
And maybe give them a date that we, you know, we'll have a roll, you know, roll it any time anyone wants to get one to us is how I feel about it, but maybe we can say we're really trying to
Yeah, we should have a
get a
deadline.
few of them done in July, you know, whenever.
So shall I put you on the agenda again for June, since I think May looks a little crowded?
Well, I
So
put it
maybe
on
there's
for
a-
May for.
A lunchtime meeting
Yes,
just to
that'd be
catch
great.
up and make
Okay.
sure we're on the
All
right
right.
track, but
Then
then,
we'll
yeah,
hold
I
on
think,
that. Okay,
yeah.
okay, that's good.
We'll figure out the, you know, the process that will go out, like what type of public announcement will be made.
Yeah.
What public requests, the format it's in, but to solicit that.
Right.
Who answers that question, Leslie? Town manager? Is that what you said?
And then I can try to pull together some examples.
Great.
Because there are a few that we don't need to. You wanna hold it.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Yes, it's just as useful to know what to avoid as to what to,
Just gonna say that.
yes.
I'd
And again,
love-
visually is very useful.
I'd love to see examples where the dormers are in proportion to the roof
where the roof pitch is friendly, where there's no bulking, you know, with big red X's on them. I'd love that.
All right. Okay, so we'll have this on whatever's the next agenda. All right, we got one more thing, folks. You're hanging in there beautifully. And that is approval of minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, I didn't see those.
I was not at that.
I will make a motion that the meeting, the minutes for March 13th be approved.
Second.
Gosha seconds. Any corrections or additions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. Then I will make a motion that the meeting be adjourned. Do I have a second, Sasha?
Oh, yeah.
All those in favor say aye. I'm not going to ask if there's anyone opposed.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you guys for hanging in there. That was great.
I read it.